My name is Anthony Barocas from StreamTech, and I'm going to tell you why the YoloBox EXTREME sucks. My name is Anthony Barocas, and I'm going to tell you why the YoloBox EXTREME is awesome. Hello, my name is Anthony Barocas, and today I'm going to talk about the pluses and minuses of the new YoloBox EXTREME. And yes, hello, my name is Anthony Barocas, and we're going to talk about the positives and negatives with regards to the YoloBox EXTREME today. I am not going to do an unboxing. I'm not going to tell you that this is the awesome, the best, the everything, because as I've always said, the best item is the item that works for what you need for that particular job. So there is no one right, best, all-in-one live production switcher. I'm just going to say that up front. So if you're looking for something to tell you how awesome this thing is, well, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of that, but I'm also going to tell you the negatives. And I'm not AI. I'm not just going to read the marketing sheet and just blather on about that. So I'm sure you've seen several other videos on what the YoloBox EXTREME is, and I have plenty of videos on this channel with regards to what YoloBox is. So I'm not going to belabor the point with any of that information. Let's get right down to it. The YoloBox EXTREME is this massive tablet. They've come a long way from the YoloBox Mini. This is the Mini. Let's see, this is the Pro. This is the Pro. And you can see it is definitely getting much bigger. Now, one of the interesting things I find is that in the box here, let's go back overhead. In the box here, they include this little camera top mount that I can't get out of the box. There we go. Because it made absolute sense when you had this little guy that you could do live streaming. You just put this on a little mount like this, and then you could put it right on top of your little camcorder. So if you got like a little camcorder, here's your little streaming device. This made perfect sense because then you could take your one HDMI in and it's just sitting there on top of your camera. You got a little friction mount here and you could see your shot. You could put up a scoreboard for your kid's soccer game, and you could do a pre-show. You could stream to a couple different destinations, Facebook and YouTube at the same time. You could do all of that with this little tablet. That made a whole lot of sense. Now, you get to the Pro, and now it's a bit bigger, and you got multiple inputs. So you got wires going in different places, and maybe you got an external audio coming from a mixer or the soundboard. Well, now it's more of a tabletop unit. You could do it, you know, on a camera, but you're going to be hooking up more stuff to it, so it doesn't necessarily lend itself to camera top usage. Now you got the EXTREME, and the EXTREME has a ton of ports on top. 8 inputs, 2 outputs, multiple USBs, audio, more USBs over here, and then of course you've got your SIM card and your SD card slot on the bottom, and your headphone jack is on the bottom, which actually makes a lot of sense. The interesting thing is, while billed as a 4K switcher, not all of the inputs are 4K, because it actually does make sense. If you're going to have a 4K production, you still may have a laptop input over here that's still HD. And then also, coming from live production for over 2 decades, 4K is a standard. 4K is what people sit down in their living rooms or watch on the big screen in a theater, doing things like that. Yes, I get that. But at the same time, do people need to stream in 4K? I mean, if you're doing my show and you're streaming me in HD or you're streaming me in 4K, there's really not much value add in a 4K stream of this. Plus, if you're streaming sports in 4K, your data rate is going to be much higher, so the challenges are much harder. So it's a trade-off as to whether streaming in 4K is really a value-added proposition, both in terms of production and in terms of what you're delivering to the end user. Me personally, I would rather deliver more cameras, more viewpoints in 1080-60 than going less cameras in 4K 60. That's just me. Obviously, my solution is not always your solution. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. But when you look at this, you've got your 2 HDMI outs as well. And that really does lend an advantage to this being used on a desktop. So if someone were to ask me, what is the best all-in-one device? If you're looking for a camera top unit to do your son's, soccer games, the Extreme is not it. It is a very big, very heavy, very large, 11-inch, very heavy, like a hefty tablet. You're not going to put this on a little camera top mount and put it on top of your camcorder. It's going to weigh 4 times the weight of your camcorder. The Mini is more apropos for that. If you're looking for a desktop solution that's going to handle 4K with better capability than anything else out there in an all-in-one solution, yes, that's the Extreme. So, is it the best? Is it not the best? The answer is still yes. But let's get into the specifics as to what this offers. Again, you've got the 2 USBs continuing down the line here. You've got your built-in Ethernet, your 2 USBs, which can be used to connect an external modem. So the built-in bonding, which is available on all the YoloBoxes. Again, it's not specific to this particular YoloBox. The built-in bonding that's available across the YoloBox and in-stream line can utilize external modems in addition to the internal SIM, in addition to Wi-Fi to your cell phone, in addition to an Ethernet hookup to whatever internet is available at the location. So you've got at least 4 different internet connections that you can bond together. If you don't know what bonding is, I have a couple videos on the channel. Go check those out with regards to what is bonding versus multiple wide area networks or multiple connections to the internet. Continuing down the line, you've got a mic and line input. These are not balanced. These are stereo inputs. Then you've got your Type-C, which is for a data connection or yet another camera input. And then this other Type-C specifically labeled with a battery and a charge icon. That's all this is for. This is not a data connection. This is just to power the unit. And again, to power the unit, you're going to need a 45-watt power supply, which they include in the box. It says right here, 45 watts. Now, is that actually giving you 5 volts at 3 amps, 15 watts, 9 volts at 3 amps, that's 27 watts, 12 volts at 3 amps. It hasn't been specifically stated what the specific input that this is using, but I'm going to guess it's going to be 15 volts at 3 amps. It's going to be as much power as possible because the battery in this thing is obviously massive compared to these guys, which only required a 15-watt power supply. These guys require a much larger power supply. This one and the Ultra are both high power devices. So make sure if you are using an external power supply, it's a 45-watt at least power supply. The power supply that I have on this desktop is a multi-output USB power supply that'll do 240 watts. It's a chunky thing, but it gives me like 6 outputs. 2 of them are high power that I could plug into the Extreme or a laptop. The other ones are lower powered, but I can plug them into the YoloBox Mini and it will charge the Mini up, or it'll charge the in-stream up. So that way I have multiple things that I could keep going on here, or I can plug it into a Mevo Start and get the Mevo Start up and running with just that one power supply. The next thing you're going to notice here is there's just 2 icons. This is very different than if you were using the Ultra, which gives you the choice of 3 things: live streaming, vertical streaming, and monitor mode. Monitor mode is what you could use if you're not going out to the internet and you want to disable those capabilities. Vertical streaming is for, as you can see, Instagram and TikTok, and live streaming is basically for horizontal destinations. Horizontal, vertical, and then just monitor mode, which is just horizontal. This one, you only have horizontal streaming and horizontal recording. That is going to be a big surprise to a lot of people because they think, well, if the older Ultra is giving you both, why doesn't the big one give you both? Well, honestly, that's one of the key things with this, in that you are bringing in 8 inputs. Most all people going to Instagram and TikTok are not going to need to switch 8 inputs as well as 5 4K inputs. They're not going to be hooking up 2 monitors for multi-view and things like that. That's not typically what you're going to need for those vertical type of outlets. This is really designed as a desktop machine for horizontal production. That's laser focused on that. It's not meant to be a jack of all trades. The Ultra right here, the Ultra is smaller, it's lighter, it can do this, it can do this, I can put it in a little cage, and it takes 4 inputs. 4 inputs, three inputs, 4 inputs to a horizontal or vertical, that kind of makes sense. It's definitely within the realm of possibility. But 8 inputs for vertical, the use case for that is not enough for YOLO to put vertical in this device. Might it happen in the future? Personally, I doubt it, but we can never know. Going into live streaming, you can see you end up with the same setup as you have with every other YoloBox. But as of the publication of this review, when I duplicate an event, it's not carrying forward all of the content from the video, whereas the Ultra, the Pro, the Mini, and all of the other YoloBoxes, when I duplicate a show, it's going to carry forward almost all of the content that I've created in that show. All of the multi-views, all of the titles, all of the graphics and everything, all that content's going to be carried forward. Now, YOLO still has a little bit of work to do in terms of bringing forward all of the settings. Like, one of the things they miss is if I've turned on specific outlets, if I turned on multi-streaming or multicasting using YOLO's own thing, duplicating a show and bringing that forward forgets those things still. So hopefully those things can be added across the board, and duplicating will then work with regards to using the extreme ability to carry forward all those settings as well. One of the things that is probably the reason for that is with the Ultras 4, the Pros 3, you're dealing with a limited number of inputs. Now on here, you've got 4 4K inputs, you've got various 4K ISO settings and different capabilities possible with the higher end chips that are in the Extreme that aren't available with the other devices. So there may be some differentiation in terms of the project files for the Extreme versus the project files for all of the other YoloBoxes. So I am going to come over here, I am going to duplicate this event. It's not going to carry anything forward, but it just makes it easy. And I'm just going to call this number 3. And create. This way it creates a new show. I can open the show. And what you're going to do is you're going to come into the same interface that is very familiar for anybody that has used a YoloBox in the past 5 to 7 years. YoloBox has been producing these things since 2017, so it's been a minute. They have a pretty refined interface, and this is what it looks like. Well, you can't see anything now, so let's connect some inputs. I have got a bunch of 4K, a bunch of HD inputs here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug these in here from the HD end. And one of the things you're going to find out is when you plug something in the HD port, you're going to find that it's going to bring up alerts. One of the things that YOLO has done pretty well with the Extreme is they've made it so there's a lot of alerts to let you know about where you are in terms of the capabilities of the device. You think I've got 8 inputs, I can do the world. No, you still can't. You're still on a mobile device. You're still on an Android tablet, and you're still dealing with the ceiling. And honestly, that is going to be the case no matter what you're using. If you are on a desktop machine, you're going to be limited in terms of what your graphics card can do or your CPU can do. Do you have an i5, an i7, an i9? Do you have a 1080, a 2080, a 3080, a 4060? Or if you have an M1, an M2, an M3, an M4, what you're capable of doing is going to be constrained by the hardware that you're trying to do it on. So it's not necessarily a YoloBox problem. It's the same across the board. Here you can see that has HDMI input settings. The HD inputs only support 1080p. It lets you know up front. And with these devices, you have to tell it what the signal is coming in. So am I coming in 60 frames a second? Am I coming 30 frames a second? I've set these to 30 frames a second, but this is where you tell the device what it is, because these inputs are not auto sensing. So it's just the 4K inputs going through that part of the processor. Those are auto sensing. The HD inputs, you need to tell it what you're doing. So we're going to come over here. I set these to 30p. Okay, good. I've got my HDMI 1, 2, 3. Those are my 3 HD inputs. You know what? I'm going to add a 4th HD input, but I'm going to add it to input 4, which is one of the 4K inputs. Now you can see it over here, and those are all ready to go. I didn't have to tell it what was input 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, because those are all the 4K inputs, which are auto sensing. It knows it's HD. It understands that this input is HD automatically. It senses the signal coming in. Now I've added 2 outputs here, one of which is capturing the screen. The other one is going to be taking whatever I send it. So let's go into that setting first. The gear icon is moved up to the top as opposed to being down here. So we're going to go into the gear. Here's my HDMI settings for my input. So you can correct whatever you've done there. Further down, you see the HDMI out. It have mirror out and mirror out. So I can have one as program out, a multi-view out, a custom out, so you can actually select a particular source to just pass through, or a mirror out, which is mirroring the entire YoloBox screen. So I'm mirroring the screen on my one output so that you can see what I see on the YoloBox screen, but on the other one, I'm going to select program out. So see program out there. So now I have both this output here, which is the mirrored screen, and I push the button over here, and that is my program screen. So I'm able to switch between the 2 outputs, this one being the mirror of what I see on my screen, and this one being the program out. So I've got a 4K wired input up here, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add an NDI input. So it's going to search the network, which is what NDI does. It's a network connected source, but I haven't connected the network yet. So let me do that. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to plug in my network cable here. So it's on Ethernet because it's plugged in. If I unplug it, it'll use the Wi-Fi. So it's preferring the Ethernet, which is what I want. I want to use the wired network. Let's go back into my show. It'll repopulate what settings. Those are the settings. Come in, NDI, search the network. All right, so I have my PTZ optics camera. I'm going to add all 3 of these. HX2, I believe this one, the VM46, this is a Restream, that's HX, and the PTZ optics as well. So we're going to say done. Those 3 come up. So I can call this up. This is the Restream right here. Hello, Restream. And then this is the Bird Dog camera way in the back over there. Hello, Bird Dog. And you can see my various cameras lined up here. And then this is the PTZ optics. And then this is also the PTZ optics. Of course, like all YoloBoxes, you can also add images, PDFs, other live streams, SRT, RTMP, even web inputs and videos from the SD cards. So if I just want to add this cool video done, there I got video, and when I bring it up, it plays automatically. You can see I got a play hit. I'm not going to go into the specifics of how to operate a YoloBox because I have several videos on that. You can watch all those videos on how to operate a YoloBox. I'm going to assume that you understand YoloBox, you understand the basic constraints of a YoloBox, and I'm going to be talking specifically, or most specifically, about the Extreme. If you go into your settings, you're going to have your multicasting output. Classic mode is the default. That's one of the new things with the YoloBox Extreme. You have more space. So one of the things they're going to let you do is go into director mode. Now you have a preview and a program. So I can see what's coming up over here. I can check it out, make sure everything's aligned, and then I take it. And it takes what's in program and puts it over here. See this little arrow? It swaps them. Now this is actually a very handy feature because it is something that live broadcast does all the time, especially if you're doing a talk show or sports or so many things where you want to go between this shot and a close-up, or between this person and that person, and they're having a dialogue back and forth. Now you might want to mix it up with different shots, but a lot of the time you're going to go back and forth between 2 people having a conversation. Have you ever seen a nighttime talk show or an interview show? That's what I'm talking about. And what that means is if I have this person talking and that person talking, and I switch, and then I just switch back, and then I switch back, and then I switch back, I could just keep tapping the take button. Technically, I don't even have to keep looking at it. I can just keep tapping it. I mean, generally with a touch screen, you have to keep looking at it. But that ability to swap back and forth is a broadcast standard and makes doing productions, especially talk shows, interview, podcasts, anything like that, so much easier because you're just going to go back and forth between those two people. Now you might mix it up and go to a different shot, like go to them and then go to a different shot of me and then go back to them and then go to a different shot over here. So you're kind of mixing it up, but you're still going back and forth. And that other shot that you were on is always at the ready in preview. So that is the new mode that is available in settings. And as you can see, your settings are still available. They're just squished down over here. So let's go back into classic mode for everyone who's used to operating a YoloBox. This is how the YoloBox works. The right-hand side is all of your various settings and the left-hand side is production. So we're gonna stick with that. But I wanted to show you this new director mode that's available on the Extreme and only the Extreme. I think the other YoloBoxes are going to be too small to really have the screen space to make that really beneficial. Show your CPU usage. It's right up there. This is another critical factor that so many YoloBox users have begged YOLO to give to end users. Like I was talking about just a moment ago, if you're using a machine and you're just pushing it harder and harder and harder, and then you're up here, I have been working on shows with a desktop PC and I've been at 80% because the client keeps asking for more inputs or more outputs or whatever. And I'm at 80% and I'm doing fine. All my frames are there, everything's going great. And then all of a sudden the computer, the operating system, starts doing something in the background. Maybe it's doing a health check. Maybe it's doing a virus scan. I don't know. And then all of a sudden my usage hits the ceiling. It hits 100%. And my frames start to suffer. I can see in vMix that my processing time for each frame is getting longer and longer and longer. So it's dropping frames in order to keep up with the video that's coming in. You know, the video doesn't stop, even though you're taking longer to process each frame. So you have to skip over frames in order to keep up, and that's what it does. The same thing happens in the YoloBoxes or in any computing device. It's not a YoloBox problem, it's a computing problem, and all of these devices compute. So if you don't know what the device is doing or how far up the capacity you are, you could be having problems and you don't know what the cause of the problem is. By giving us the CPU load right there, that lets us know at a glance, how hard am I pushing this device? And that's something that's really, really, really important to know. You can also drag down from the top. You can see my CPU is at 50%, my memory is at 60%, my battery, oh, I'm not even plugged in the battery. I should plug it in. Let's do that too. There we go. That should light up. Now I'm charging because I have a high output power here, and I'm on Ethernet. That should actually be lit up. Interesting. That should be lit up because I am on Ethernet and I can see my NDI sources, so it should be lit up, but it's not. The temperature, you can see that it has built-in cooling. It's able to work set down on the table, but the fan is actually like right here on the back, so I should have it propped up. Let me prop this up so that I don't overheat the device as I am going to try to push it harder. So let me put this up here, give it a little bit of ventilation underneath, and that will hopefully get it down from 60 degrees. You can see my headphone volume is right here. This is my brightness setting, and you can see that it can be insanely bright. One of the another advantages of the Extreme is a high brightness OLED screen. I have it down here so that it doesn't overwhelm this camera. But you can see that's what's going on there. Ooh, did that actually? That's still 58, okay. But that's always available in the top part of the display. Streaming mode, you can see it went back to single platform. That's the default. I'm gonna come in here and say, use YOLO Live's multi-stream. Got it. I wish this text was a little bigger. I get the fact it's a high resolution display, but that doesn't mean that this pop-up box has to be small. Also, considering that, see how this is an arrow? If I click on this, it takes me to another window. If I click on this, it pops up a little thing. The interface is not consistent. And that's something that always gets me. Stream encoding settings. Now, these are just for my stream. Again, you see it went to a different screen. So am I streaming at 2K, at 4K, at 1080p, VBR, 30 frames a second, 4 megabits, H.264, H.265. You can set all of that, and that's the streaming encoder. There's 2 encoders in here. With the Pro and all the other lower or older models, Pro, Mini, the original YoloBox, the EXTREME, there's 1 encoder. So what you record is also what you stream, or I should say, the low bit rate that you stream is also the low bit rate you record. Then with the Ultra, they gave you 2 encoders. Now I can stream a 720p, but I can record 1080 or even 4K, and that way I have a high bit rate, high quality local record while also streaming this low bit rate stream to multiple destinations to make sure that it gets through. That was a great advancement. That's also what's available here, and this is why you're seeing separate stream encoding settings. You come down here, video source switch, classic mode. Again, we talked about double click to switch. Again, with the pop-up, not the go to a different screen. That's because it's a touch screen. Sometimes you want to just tap to switch. Sometimes you want to double tap to switch to make sure that it wasn't just an accidental, you moved your hand across it. Director mode, we covered that. Local video settings. Pause when switch, resume first frame and pause when you switch away, or just pause the video. So if I show this video or show this video, you see how it resumed where I was. It's going to jump back to the beginning. If I cut away and then cut back, it's going to resume, or you can have it resume the first frame. So if I cut away and cut back, it's back at the first frame. Generally, you're going to want it to go back, especially if you've got commercial spots or things like that. And if you cut away on the last 2 frames, you don't want it to come back at the very end of the video. You want it to come back at the beginning. But if you're talking about a movie and you want to cut away from the movie and then cut back, you're going to want it to keep going. So those let you determine what happens with the video. And then, as mentioned, while the video is playing, you can still pause it, you can re-cue it, and you can play it. HDMI 1, 2, 3 settings, we kind of covered that. HDMI out, we covered that. USB-C out. Now remember, there's 2 USB-Cs. You got the power USB-C and you have the other USB-C. You can send video out USB-C, and you can also have it flip horizontal. This is great if you're sending video out USB-C, video and audio out USB-C to go UVC, like a webcam, into another device. So you can use this for production and then feed that into Zoom or something else. So you can have this local production and then feed it into Zoom, Teams, whatever you want. NDI out. If you have NDI activated, it is an extra cost because not everybody wants NDI, not everybody needs NDI, so it's not pre-activated on here. If you have NDI activated, you get the NDI inputs as well as an NDI output. So you can turn NDI output on, but then you can also determine what your source is. You can send NDI and then send an ISO of NDI. The thing you can't do right now is you can't send multi-view out NDI, but you can send any of your sources and program. You can send 1080 or 720, how many frames a second. So I'm going to leave that on. We're going to start adding things here. SD card management, you can see all the clips I got on here. I halfway full on my SD card. I can see all my clips, I can delete them. So if I wanted to, I could go over here, I can select this, and then I can delete or even select all and delete. I don't want to do that. Portable storage management, that's if you're using a USB stick plugged into the top up here. You can mix and match. You can record to SD while pulling video files from the USB, so that if a client walks up at the last minute and says, oh, I got the video file on a USB stick, you can stick it in and just call it right up. It's that easy. That's one nice feature in that you're not beholden to one of, oh, it has to be on the SD card, or it has to be on USB. It can access both of these things at the same time. Now, you can't record to both of those. You can only record to one destination. So if you're recording to SD card, but the client wants a copy on a USB stick, you're going to have to copy it. Mobile web control, again, I've covered this in other videos. You can control various YoloBoxes, the Ultra and now the Extreme, with a web interface. Just knowing what the URL of, it tells you right here, the URL of this device, you can call it up on another tablet, on a laptop, on a desktop, because it's basically a web browser interface. And you can do that right here by taking this IP address and then putting it into the web browser of another device. They have continued the use of the YoloDeck, which takes one of the USB ports. It comes with a USB-A cable. So I'm going to plug that in right here, boom, 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 like that. It's going to boot up. You can see it booting up over there. And then I have control of what's going on over here. So I have HDMI. See, I can start punching cameras. Now, if I want to change what's on this screen, that's what the configuration lets me do. Set it up, da-da-da. Now, technically, this is a different app. You see, it switched like a whole, I'm now in a different app. I'm not in the YoloBox app on the tablet. I'm in a configuration app for this device. But be that as it may. So I can change what the buttons are. I can click on a button. I can move it around. I can put different transitions, replay, auto switch. I'm not going to really get into all the different features of just the YoloDeck. I have a video on the YoloDeck. You can look at that. And one of the things I want to mention with the YoloDeck that I think is critical for anyone doing a YoloBox production is that yes, I'm going to exit this app. It's going to take me back over here. Okay, I'm in the YoloDeck. You can see it comes default with a record and a go live button. If I hit record on here, let's just say let's do this one. I hit record. It's going to say, I'm going to record to the SD card. It gives me all types of, are you sure? And I say start. Now I'm recording. You can see I've got a record, I've got a little, let's bring this up a little brighter, a little bigger. You can see at the top of the screen, I've got a record and I've got a little counter there. That is good. It's good to see that I am recording. I got the little red blinky, very slow blinking, but blinky icon. And I've got the timer that's increasing in how long I've been recording. That's great. And on the Extreme, if I touch record to turn it off, it's going to come up with an alert. Are you sure you wanted to do that? I can say cancel. No, that was accidental. I didn't mean to stop my recording. I want you to keep recording. It's important. Or if you were sure, then you can say done, and it will stop recording. Now, if you're using the YoloDeck, you need to be very careful. I would never put the record and go live buttons over here. It's handy to tell it to record, and if I do that, it'll actually turn red and the status will change. But you see, it did not come up with a confirmation over here. The even worse part is if I'm switching cameras, right, and I accidentally hit that other button, I have stopped recording. No alert came up on my YoloBox to say, are you sure you want to stop recording, or was that button press accidental? And that is something that just scares the bejesus out of me. I don't want to accidentally stop streaming or stop recording because I accidentally pressed a button. Those alerts, I feel, should always come up. Are you sure that you want to stop streaming, that you want to stop recording? Those alerts should always come up, because if I'm here and I'm recording, it reflects over here and I say stop. Oh, are you sure? Done. But if I hit recording over here and I'm recording and I say stop, it just goes away. And I feel that is not the way I would like it to work. So to avoid that, I would take these buttons off. Delete. Delete, save, I would take those buttons. That'd be the first thing I do, is take those buttons off. I'd never have those buttons on here because I need to be doubly sure that I am recording and that recording hasn't accidentally been disabled or turned off. Same with streaming. If I'm streaming a show and I accidentally stop the stream and people are not watching anymore, but I think I'm still switching, that could be bad. So that is something to be aware of. Hopefully that can be updated, fixed in a update. Again, I'm making this in April of 2025, and that's how it works with this version of the firmware. Also works the same way on the Ultra. The YoloDeck, I will say, is a fantastic addition to the YoloBox family. I hope the YoloDeck capability is extended to every device in the YoloBox ecosystem. I hope it's available for the InStream, the Mini, the Pro, maybe not the original YoloBox. We're not making updates for that anymore. But this is a fantastic tool because what it lets you do is it lets you preset certain things, just these cameras, just these overlays, just certain things on here, and then give this to someone, let's just say you're working in a church or for a volunteer organization. You can, someone who understands what's going on can set everything up here. In which case you might want to put the Go Live button here. Set everything up here. Or what you do is you put that on a different page. Change pages, start, and then change pages back so that you never see them again. Just got to remember to turn them off at the end of the show. See, it's a catch-22. The alert should come up. Or I don't know how you do the alert on the button, but something needs to be done so that you don't just one tap and they're gone. But this way you can hand this to someone else during your church service or, whatever it is. And they can, you can have your kids do, your soccer game on the sidelines. Oh, switch to this. Oh, switch to this, switch to this, switch to this, switch to this, switch to this. Oh, put this title over top. I don't have any titles yet, but, do all of this. And that makes it easy to pre-select what's available for that person to do it. And then meanwhile, all of the control is over here because you don't want them messing with your output settings and your record settings and all that stuff. Don't change those things, just cut cameras. That is a great feature. I don't have it set up to go anywhere in terms of streaming, so I'm not going to get into that. Here is your bonding. I don't have a bonding account. And you can see right here, it's available on a monthly plan for $29 a month or $2.99 for the entire year. Starts from. So if you need more data, there's higher plans, but this is the starting plan. Here's your graphics. And again, you've got all of these different types of graphics. And this is really why I call these things all-in-ones versus switchers. Osee and Blackmagic and a lot of companies make great switchers. All they do is switch. You can kind of do multi-views too, but that's basically it. These are graphics generators, these are titlers, these are so much more. These are all in one. So you got your web URL overlays. I actually have some on YoloCast. So you can see that I've built some on YoloCast. I can add that. I can add my sports graphics. Done. That's a web overlay. There it is. Done. And then I'm going to add that. Should increase my CPU count a little bit. Let's add some more graphics because I know graphics are a great way. Image overlays, we can add my little StreamTech little button there. I think that might be a little big. Scale that down. We're going to put that up there. Maybe a little smaller. There you go. Done. Put that up. So now I got this. Actually, I got the YOLO logo down there. I should cover that up. So you press and hold. Right. Move it down there. Now, unfortunately, it's showing me the video, but it's not showing me the video with the overlay that's already on the video. So it's not showing me full program. It's just showing me the videos because I have the other title on there, right there, but it didn't show me. Let's leave it like that. So add another title, lower thirds. All these lower thirds are available. Now, as of right now, none of these are animated, but I anticipate maybe possibly in the future, some of these could be animated. We are going to scrolling captions. That one's kind of animated. We're going to do that one. Please enter text. There it is up there. I can change the text size. I can change the background color, scrolling speed, auto hide duration, no, repeated scrolling, slide to the left or slide to the right, scrolling speed, background color. Let's do orange. There it is. And we say done. And then we put that on and it should just start scrolling. There it goes. Now I've pushed it up to 60% and you can see that this has gone orange. I'm trying to create more work for this device. Let me also do a picture-in-picture with this one and this one. Actually, let's have him do. Is that the right way? Yes. So we're going to take the border off. We're going to scale him all the way up. Just like that. We're going to say done. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do my chroma key. And I'm going to turn on a green key. The keying in the YoloBoxes, all the YoloBoxes, is very good. You can obviously adjust it, but the simplicity and the reliability of the keying is quite good. So now you can see I've keyed him into the news background. So I've got a key going, I've got a web graphic, I've got a button, I've got a scrolling text at the top. I'm at 64%. Let's keep going. Let us, you know what? I've got 4K inputs. He's an HD input. We should also add a 4K input. So let me add a news layout with, let's see, that's the HX2. Which one? This one I know is 4K, so I'm going to take this, and that one is also 4K. Done. So I'm taking two 4K sources. Let's do the blue background. Done. Let's switch to that. Let's see if they can't. 65% now. Awesome. Good. All right. We got your streaming destinations. You know what? We're also going to go to my record settings. So where's my recording? Here is my recording. So I'm going to record, but what am I going to record? Let me record in 4K the program, and then also record just HDMI 8 at 30 frames a second, 28 megabits a second. Recording limits, let's just go continuously, and storage setting is the SD card. We're going to do that, and then I say record. And it tells you enabling this operation will reach the performance limit. Again, I said at the beginning that I really appreciated that YOLO has gone through and made it clear to end users that when you're going to be pushing the device closer and closer to the ceiling of capability. Now, yes, your 4K recording is estimated CPU usage is 16. I'm already at 64. 16 times 2, that's going to be 30, added to 64. I'm going to say continue anyway. You want to start the recording? Yes. So that should jump to 90 something, if the math is correct. But I'm recording both of these. I'm at 69, so it didn't really jump all the way up. Again, your recording is going to be based upon, your recording demands are going to be based upon what your signal is. So that if you are doing a talking head in front of a plain background like this, you're not really using a lot of processing power to compress this image. It's very easy to compress. If you're outdoors doing soccer in a grassy field with trees blowing in the background and the entire image is changing all the time and there's all these people moving, that's a very complex image. That's going to take a lot of work to compress. It's going to take a lot of data, and it's going to be pushing the CPU harder. So the demand on the CPU is not just cameras, but also content. The Extreme gives you an extreme capability, but with great power comes great responsibility to use it wisely, as we should know if you watch a Marvel movie. And So now I've got it up to 71%, and that's because I haven't changed what's going on the screen. I changed the shot in the show, but I didn't change what was going on here. So that's going on. And then remember, I also have streaming. So let me go back to my streaming settings. Let me go to my Stream Tech channel, and I'm just going to make this, no, not the YouTube channel. Is that YouTube? Yeah, not the YouTube. Let's put it on here, on Facebook, on a page, on the Stream Tech page. Done. So it's going to go to my Facebook, and then I'm also just going to say, go stream. Are you sure you want to start streaming? Start streaming. Up now, the streaming at 1080p is going to increase 8%. Continue. So I'm pushing this even harder. But as you can see, my temperature is now going up to 85. My CPU is at 83%. My memory is at 78%. I still know what's going on. And that's one of the really nice things that I appreciate with the Extreme is information. I'm not just putting out information. I'm not just broadcasting information. I'm getting information from the device that I'm using. You can see the CPU actually bumped there. It goes right into red at 80%, but it went back down to yellow. Again, it's based on content. So if I'm in the red there, but I bet you if I just go to her and take off those titles, take off that scrolling title, take off that web title, memory card write speed is insufficient. Done. So the card I have in here is not fast enough to handle the writing of the dual 4Ks. So let's go into my recording settings and bring down the data rate as much as I can with the 4K. 16. All right, let's start recording again. Are you sure? Oh, it won't let me do it now? Has reached the performance limit. Cancel. Okay, so let me stop streaming. End. Gonna really mess up the people who might be catching this on Facebook. In the process of exiting. Please wait. Okay. Oh, because it's a live stream. As soon as I exit the live stream, it's going to end the show. All right. Well, it's going to exit this. It's going to close it out and everything. And then that was my live show number 3. And we're going to duplicate that. We're going to say number 4. Done. Create. There's my number 4. Go back in. Did it carry my titles? It did. Awesome. Carried my inputs. It did not bring forth my NDI inputs. So now I have to add those again. NDI. It tells you right here, again, you're getting information with regards to your limits. You have 2 FX or full NDI, which is like 100 megabit NDI, or 5 HX inputs. What's the data rate of HX? Whatever you set it to be on your camera. Could be low as low as like 5 megabits. It could be 15. It could be 30. It could be 60. HX is this big variable, but it's a different way of compressing the data. It's H.264 or H.265, which is built into here. FX is an older codec that is a lot harder to deal with for these devices. It's not built into today's chips. So it's actually a CPU computational thing as opposed to being handed off to a specific area of the chip designed to handle H.264 or H.265, which is why you can handle those. So there's my YoloBox. I can bring in my own YoloBox, which I'm not going to do because I'm done. That is interesting. Let us go back to my settings. My program is still on. Interesting. That setting was retained and automatically engaged as soon as I came back in. So now you can see I've got lady talking. I am at 74% and I'm probably still pretty toasty because temperature is not going to go down very fast. And there are my inputs. HDMI 7 just does not want to come in, so we'll just unplug that. Delete. Done. Don't even bother trying. And you have background music. You've got your scoreboards. Again, covered all of those in other videos about the YoloBox. Your audio mixer is going to be something that's very good in the Extreme and the Ultra. The Ultra audio mixer has been carried over. If you're used to working with the Pro, the Mini, the InStream, or the original YoloBox, this is going to take a bit of learning because the new audio mixer is more powerful, is more capable, and works a little bit differently. So here you can see I've got audio from HDMI 4 coming in, and I can turn that on and then it becomes part of my program. It's a little jumpy. I would love it to be smoother. Hopefully they could maybe allocate more CPU resources to managing this audio meter. It's stereo. That's gonna be one of the first things you notice. It's stereo. So if you're bringing in an audio source, a microphone, or you've got a microphone plugged into a camera, but it's only coming in the left channel, you're gonna see it here, which is great. You're not gonna be able to fix it here, which sucks. There's no mixed to mono capability. So you can see that you have a problem, but you just can't fix it here. So you'd have to fix it in the camera or get an audio adapter, you know, mono to stereo audio adapter and then plug it back in, or get a microphone that has a stereo output that will go into your YoloBox so that you don't end up with audio just on the one channel and nothing on the other. Over here, you've got 3 buttons on these inputs. You've got on, because I wanted that on. You've got audio follows video, which years ago used to default to on, and everybody said, please just turn that crap off. So now it defaults to off. It's only on when you turn it on. Most of the time, you're not going to want it. But there's a couple instances where you might. Let's just say you have a camera down by the sideline of sport, and that camera is doing interviews. When you cut to that camera, you also want the audio from that camera to come in. When you cut away from that camera, you want that audio off. So that you don't have to think about it, you could just say, oh, okay, audio follows video. So let's try this. Let me turn this off. So I've got no audio. If I cut to that, here, yeah, it is working. So HDMI 3 and HDMI 4 have the same audio because it's all coming in from one source. When I cut to HDMI 3, it's turning that audio on. When I cut away from HDMI 3, it's turning that audio off. So audio follows video. When that audio comes on, when the video comes on, the audio comes on. That works as it should. The last button down here is a headphone volume. Do you want to monitor that sound? So HDMI 3, let's just say HDMI 3 is the microphone that I'm wearing. So I don't want to hear myself talking when I cut to me or when my camera is on the shot. So let's just say HDMI 3, I'm going to turn the headphone off. So when I cut to HDMI 3, you can see it's going out program, but it's not going to my monitor. It's not going in my headphones. If I cut away and I turn that back on, when I turn it back on, now it's going into my headphones. And as we know with any of these production tools, when the audio needs to be delayed to match the video, which has to be processed going through the device, you're going to be a frame or two behind, and that's going to cause a delay. So you're hearing yourself with a little bit of an echo, a little bit of a delay, and that is so hard to talk through. It's one of the reasons I am recording this and I am not using the earbuds to listen to myself while I'm doing the show, because it's impossible for me to keep talking while also hearing myself with the echo. This allows you to turn that monitor off, so now I'm not hearing my own audio or whatever audio I choose to not hear. Maybe it's the line input, maybe it's the mic input, maybe it's going into a particular camera. Like for this show, I have my audio going into my main camera so that the delay is the same all the way through the entire process. The audio goes into my main camera, so it's coming in with the HDMI. That's why I would be over here and I would say, okay, here's my camera with me, and I don't want to monitor the audio. I do want it in program. I do want it up here in the program, but I don't want to hear it with the echo. So I want to monitor everything else I'm doing, the countdown music, the background music, any of my remote guests. I want to hear everything else but me in my headphones. You can do that here. It's called mix minus, but I really wanted to indicate that the audio mixer in the Extreme and the Ultra has gotten to the point where mix minus is included. You can defeat whatever thing you want in the headphone volume, and that makes it incredibly useful. It is a fantastic advancement in YoloBox audio mixing. The Ultra and the Extreme take it to the next level. This audio mixing is not available in the Pro, the Mini, the InStream, or anything else. It would be nice if it could be made available in the older devices, but because they have older processors from 5 years ago, that just may not be possible. So if this is a feature that you need, then upgrading to the latest device, like an iPhone, like a Samsung, if you want that latest cool feature, then you got to upgrade to the new device. Remote guests is also available here, and as we talked about, remote guests allows you to invite the guests from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guests, and you don't need a computer. These invitations come out from your YoloBox, they go to the person, and when the person connects with their phone or tablet or whatever, it's just a web page for them, they come right into your YoloBox. There's not a separate thing that you've got to connect. It's all happening in here. And I have a video. I kind of sound like a broken record, but yes, I have a video where I pushed the YoloBox to 15 inputs. And I was able to do that in part by leveraging multiple remote guests calling into the YoloBox, and that helped me push it to its absolute maximum. And I did get it to crash because unfortunately, there's no CPU monitor on the model that I was testing at the time, but I had everything connected. I pushed it to the limit, and the remote guests pushed it over the limit. There's only so much these devices can do, so you need to really understand what you can do. And as I've said in several videos, it's very important to test, test, test. If you're going to be doing something, build it, test it, make sure what you want to do can be done without crashing the machine, without going over the CPU headroom and everything. And that goes for whether you're working on a Mac and a switching app on a Mac, or switching app on a PC like vMix, whether you're working on a TriCaster, whether you're working on the Extreme. Test, test, test. It doesn't matter what the platform is, test it first to make sure everything does what you want it to do, how you want it to do, reliably. Continuing on with the thought of audio follows video, remote guests is definitely a place where you're going to want the audio for those people to be on when they're on the screen and off when they're not on the screen. So if you have 5 people connected and you want to bring them up one at a time, you don't want to hear 5 people's audio and people talking in the background. Well, I'm not on yet. What did you want? And a dog comes barking in, or a kid, or somebody's doing the vacuum, yard work, or whatever going on. You don't want to hear all that audio, and you don't want to have to go into the audio mixer and manually turn people on and off. That's where you'd be using the audio follows video, so that when they do appear on screen, that's when their audio is turned on. And they would have that dialogue. And then when I take them off the screen, that's what you want. Remote guests is where that's going to be. You've got your background music. I don't have any background music. Your titles, your your replay. Again, replay is available in this. I don't do sports, so I'm not really going to speak to replay, but the replay is going to work very similarly to how it has worked before. Your auto switch, again, your auto switch is going to work to, again, as it has worked before. So see my other videos on going through all these different features on the YoloBox. Your guest comments, let's see if they added, nope, it's the same 3, so it's going to be working the exact same way as it did on the previous YoloBoxes, even all the way back to the Pro. They haven't changed, doesn't look like they've even changed the way they look or added additional designs to this, so that's going to work exactly the same. One thing I will say about the transitions, though, is when you're in director mode, as someone who does switching a lot, like if you've used an ATEM Mini, you've got 2 buttons for transitions. You've got cut and you've got auto. You also have fade to black, but you're only going to use that once. Cut and auto. This one has 1 button. There's room for more buttons, but Like if I want to do this, it's just going to cut. Do I want to change this to a fade? I can change it to a fade. 1 second. And now it's a fade. And now it's well, I don't want to fade every time, so I have to go into this menu and I have to change it back to cut. And then I can cut. It would be so beneficial. And this is like a feature request in my review. This is so beneficial if we had 2 buttons. And I was part of the beta team and I pushed for this. It hasn't happened, but there's still hope because they can update things. And YOLO has a very established history of upgrading and updating and adding features and, you know, making enhancements. They can definitely make this happen. Split this into 2 buttons. One is cut, the other one is auto. And auto is the one that would be the fade. So that if I was in this mode and I wanted to play my video, here, let's do that video, done. And I have my video queued up. Now I want to fade to my video. I just hit the fade button or I hit the auto button and it fades to the video. And then I come back out, I want to fade back out. And then I want to cut between these 2 people. I just cut, 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 cut. It's just 2 different buttons on the screen. There's even room here for another button, but it's not there yet. So if I wanted to bring that up, I have to go in here and then I have to hit fade and then I have to adjust the setting and then I close that and then I say, okay, fade to the countdown. All right, and the video is done playing and I fade back out of that. And then I have to go in here and I have to get back to cut and then I have to close that and then I can go over here and then I can hit cut. Too much work. We can solve this with a second button. That's just a little rant, but hopefully the YOLO people are listening. And generally they do. They listen to end users and the evolution of the YoloBox and especially the evolution of the audio mixer is definitely a response to the users who have demanded, they have demanded mix minus. They have demanded that audio follows video is off. They have demanded the ability to turn off whatever input they want from the monitor. They have demanded stereo audio meters. They have demanded better audio meters. And all of those things are here. I still want better metering than this, you know, more samples per second. But, and I still want to be able to mix channels if I have a problem like that. But this is a huge advancement over where it was when the Pro came out. This is a massive improvement, and kudos to YOLO Live for listening to end users and making this happen, because this is a very usable audio mixer. The mixer in the original audio mixer is a barely usable audio mixer. Usable, but you don't have mix minus, you don't have stereo meters, you don't have the ability to turn off certain things, and it does have audio follows video. It does have that. Coming down here, there's one more button on the end where this is another user request. It's like, listen, I'm doing a show, but I'm not using background music. I am not using replay. I'm not using a scoreboard. I'm not going to have it auto switch. I'm not going to invite guests. I can turn all those things off. Done. Now, I just have the icons that I'm using. But now, one thing I wish they would still do is take some of these icons and roll them in the settings. Because bonding is either on or it's off. It's not anything I'm going to need to adjust during the show. Titles, yes, I need to adjust. I need to get to my titles during the show. The audio mixer, yes, I need to do that. Comments, yes, I need to get to that. Or I definitely don't need that either. But there's other things. Bonding is a setting. It should be up here in the gear icon. I either turn bonding on and I'm going to use it, or I don't have it and I don't need to see it. So it doesn't need to be down here in the row of things I'm using during the show. That's what this row is for, things I'm using during the show. So come back in here. I can turn off network bonding. Platforms. Platforms is something I should set up in the gear icon. Where is it going to go? That's where it's going to go. When I hit the stream button, that's where it goes. It's not anything I need to access during the show. So I can turn off platforms. But if you were doing a sports game, you're going to need the scoreboard. You're going to need the replay. You can use invite guests is actually a handy feature if you wanted to do that sideline camera. You could actually have somebody with a cell phone use cellular network to be that remote guest and not even run any cables. So invite guests I could use. And there you go. Done. And now I have a bunch of things that I am with. Okay, this is video source transitions. Where's that? Turn that off too. Done. So now this is a list of things, recording settings. No, the recording settings is something that needs to be in settings. I'm going to set it once. I'm not going to adjust it while I'm recording the show. Turn that off. Done. So now I have a list of things that I am going to be jumping between during the show. I'm going to be inviting someone. I'm going to have a replay. I'm going to need to adjust the scoreboard. That's probably going to be over here. I am going to have viewer comments. I might need to adjust the audio, and I am going to have to adjust my graphics, although that could be over here too. So these are the things that need to be here during an active show. Everything else, go away or put it in settings. Because now the trick is, oh, well, I'm setting up for a new show, but where's my destinations? Let me go to my destinations. It's not in my settings. So it's like, I have to come over here and I have to turn on platforms and then click done. And then I can come over here and say where it's gonna go. So it needs to be up here in settings. This another personal rant of mine, but if you agree, let me know in the comments what you think they should have in this little area over here. One of the cool things they did with the Wi-Fi in the Extreme is they give you little antennas. And the antennas are a great feature because they take the Wi-Fi out of this metal enclosure. The back of the screen is a backlight, and the backlight is held in place, and the heat is, managed by metal. And the case around this thing is metal, and the back of this thing is metal. So Wi-Fi doesn't have a great range, especially if you wanted to communicate with Wi-Fi cameras or you're sharing a Wi-Fi hotspot from your cell phone. Then you need to be able to get that signal out of the box. It will get out of the box. It'll squeak through various areas, but with the Extreme, they have added these little antennas. And these little antennas go right here, where it says Ant, for Anthony. There you go. Get a little rubber grommet there, and then there. Now, I've got an antenna. So it's only going to move a little bit based on how you stick it in, because as you can see, it actually has facets on it, so it's going to move a little bit. Now, if I wanted to stick straight up, I guess I need to take it out and stick it in that way. There. So it'll move a little bit that way. I guess that helps make sure that the antennas don't get knocked too far from where you want them set. If I'm using this on a tabletop, this is probably how I would want to use it, so that most of the antenna is out and in the clear. I felt the antenna was important enough to mention separately because not every device has antennas. And the main other competitor to the YoloBox series, which is the Magewell Director, the Director Mini has evolved to the Director 1, and one of the key advantages there is external antennas. So both companies understand the value of external antennas, and I kudos to YoloLive for making external antennas for the Extreme, making it so that you now have the ability to really reach out and cover an area with the Wi-Fi from this device. So if you have built-in cellular and you're doing cellular inside here, you can now share your YoloBox as a hotspot to the local devices much more reliably with the external antennas on the YoloBox Extreme. And what that means is if you have Wi-Fi devices like the Restream, like a Mevo Start, like the Tail Air, those are Wi-Fi cameras that will be sending NDI over Wi-Fi, and you might end up with nothing plugged into your 8-input switcher. So why would you still buy the 8-input Extreme? Well, because it has the extra processing power. It has the extra horsepower built into the Extreme to handle more sources. So like you saw, I'm able to bring in 5 NDI HX sources. With the Ultra, it was 3. With the Pro, it's just 1. So if you really plan on having more cameras, 5 NDI HX sources in the Extreme is going to be why you still want to upgrade to the Extreme, even if you're not going to be using all 8 of those hardware inputs. It's the extra processing power inside that gives you this capability. And you still have the 8 inputs if you decide to use them as well. This has been my overview of the new YoloBox Extreme. It is taking mobile live production to the extreme. There's no other box that matches it in terms of all the capabilities that are packed into this small all-in-one production tablet. Is this the right tablet for you? Is this the perfect production solution? I'm not going to say that. You'll find others that will. I'm not going to tell you. The perfect tool for you is the one that works for your needs. That's the right tool for you. And I hope that came across in this video. My name is Anthony Barocas for Stream Tech. Thanks for watching.